You've heard it a million times, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It sounds so simple. But this idea, the golden rule, is actually one of the most profound and, well, universal ethical concepts in all of human history. So let's dig in and figure out what makes this one single idea so incredibly powerful.
So, here's the massive question we're trying to answer today. Can one simple rule really be a moral compass for everyone, everywhere? From ancient China to modern America, is there a single thread that ties us all together? We're going to see if this one rule is truly the universal code for being human.
Okay, so the fancy term for this is the ethic of reciprocity. All it really means is that you treat other people the way you'd want to be treated. It's a beautifully simple concept that forces us to use our own feelings, our own desires as the starting point for how we act towards everybody else.
So here's our game plan. We'll start by asking if it's really a universal code. Then we'll get into a really crucial distinction, the golden versus the silver rule. From there, we'll take a trip around the world to see it in action, explore this idea of love as something you do, not feel, tackle some of the tricky philosophical problems, and then wrap up by asking, why does this thing have such staying power?
All right, first things first, we've got to unpack something really important that changes the whole conversation. See, not all versions of this rule are created equal. The big difference comes down to one simple question. Does the rule tell you to do something or to not do something?
Now this is where it gets super interesting. On the left, you've got the positive form, the classic golden rule from the New Testament. It commands you to actively go out and do good things. But on the right, you have a negative form, often called the silver rule from Confucius. This one's about refraining from doing harm. And here's the kicker. You can follow the silver rule perfectly by just sitting on your couch and doing absolutely nothing. The golden rule, it demands you get up and act.
What's just wild is how this idea, in one of those two forms, pops up, well, everywhere. It's not owned by any one group or religion. So let's just take a quick spin around the globe and see how widespread this ethic of reciprocity really is. Let's start with Judaism, more than 2,000 years ago. The great sage Hillel the Elder basically said this is the entire Torah in a nutshell. Notice it's that negative version, just like Confucius. It's about not doing harm, a core foundational idea.
Okay, now switch gears. In Islam, we find a really powerful, positive version of the rule. Here, true belief isn't just about avoiding bad stuff, it's about actively wanting for others the same good things, the same success, the same happiness that you want for yourself.
And this idea echoes all the way in ancient India. In the epic Mahabharata, it's laid out as the very essence of dharma, or right conduct. The logic is pure empathy. If it would hurt you, don't do it to someone else. Simple as that.
And in Buddhism, we see the exact same logic. This verse is all about that internal understanding of pain. You know what it feels like to be hurt, right? So use that knowledge, that feeling, as your guide for how you treat other people. See the pattern? The common thread through all of these, it's empathy.
So let's circle back to that active, positive version of the rule for a minute, because the Christian interpretation takes the word love and just turns it on its head. It argues that love isn't about what you feel, it's about what you do. The key here is a Greek word, agape. We tend to think of love as this overwhelming feeling that just happens to us. But agape is totally different. It's not an emotion, it's active mercy. It's a conscious choice to be kind and generous, especially when you don't feel like it. And there's no better story to explain this than the parable of the Good Samaritan. A guy is beaten and left for dead. The religious, important people, a priest and a Levite, they see him and just walk on by. But then comes a Samaritan, an outcast, someone who was supposed to be an enemy. And he doesn't just feel sorry for the guy, he acts. He bandages his wounds, puts him on his own donkey, and even pays for his medical bills. That is agape in action.
And look, this isn't just some ancient parable. Check out this incredible, true story. Michael Weiser, a Jewish rabbi, was being harassed and threatened by a KKK leader named Larry Trapp. But when Trapp became seriously ill, what did Weiser do? He and his family took Trapp into their own home and cared for him. That act of radical, active mercy completely changed Trapp. He said he was shown so much love that he couldn't help but love back. He renounced all of his hatred before he died. That's the power of proactive good.
Okay, so as powerful as this rule is, it's not perfect. Let's be real. Philosophers have been poking holes in it for centuries, so let's get into some of the really tough challenges.
The playwright George Bernard Shaw put it perfectly with this zinger. It's the most famous objection, right? What if I love blasting heavy metal at 2 a.m.? If I treat my neighbor how I want to be treated,
I'm going to give them a speaker full of music, and they're going to hate me for it. It's a great point about different tastes.
And that makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is the rule just superficial? I mean, what happens when it's not about music, but about core, fundamental values that are in direct conflict? How on earth are you supposed to apply the rule then?
The philosopher Immanuel Kant took it a step further with a more formal problem. He said, look, the rule breaks down when people are in different roles. Imagine a criminal telling a judge, hey, you wouldn't want to be thrown in jail, so you shouldn't throw me in jail. If you apply the rule literally, it doesn't leave much room for things like justice, does it?
So, okay, the rule has some logical holes in it. It's not a foolproof formula for every single moral problem. And yet, for thousands of years, across all these cultures, it has endured. So why? Why is this idea still one of the most powerful we have?
And the answer, really, is this. The ultimate point of the Golden Rule isn't to be logically airtight. Its true power is that it's an empathy engine. It's a tool. It forces you, even just for a second, to get out of your own head, to step into someone else's shoes, and see the world from their perspective. It's the starting point for all compassion.
Which kind of leaves us with one big final question. In a world with 8 billion of us, with all our different tastes and values and situations, can this ancient, simple rule really guide us? Is the simple act of trying to imagine what it's like to be someone else, is that powerful enough to actually build a better world? It's a lot to think about. Thanks for exploring this with me.